Welcome to Leaders Up Close and Personal. This program is part of the UCF Engineering Leadership and Innovation Institute's program to help students learn how to create, innovate, collaborate, and deliver world-changing solutions. We are proud today to have Michael Lewis from Duke Energy, who is also the sponsor of the program, to share his thoughts about leadership. And we've had time to interact and
Yes, we have.
hear your story.
Yes.
And as you talk about leadership, you've talked about the need to really be authentic.
Yes.
And so what does authentic leadership mean to you? And why is that important?
Well, to be an effective leader, you have to have a position of who you are before you can even understand the objectives you're trying to achieve. If you don't have that understanding of what your strengths, what your weaknesses are, and embrace them both, it really is difficult to lead a team to achieve an objective. So being authentic is being okay with who you are and what you bring to the party.
Okay.
And with that being said, it's also understanding that you have to continue to understand how you perceive by others and seeking that feedback to ensure that what's perceived as you as a person aligns with who you really are.
Right.
So being authentic to me is a key element of being a great leader.
So how do you build that authenticity? So one is being aware of how people perceive you and your reputation.
Well, it starts really about believing who you are. I mean, it really goes beyond any sort of corporate or business objectives. It's really it speaks to, do you have the confidence to know that who you are as a person, you would bring value to an organization, to a team, and with that being said, leverage that understanding, that confidence, and that confidence will spread to your team.
Right. As you work through the authenticity, you've also talked about working through and really building your own model. So who you are as a person, but also you've talked about what does it mean to be a leader and your model of that. Is your model different than my model? Should it be?
It should be, actually, but let's start with the modeling process. Too often we as leaders, or as leaders in every aspect, we tend to behave and react and engage without a time of reflection. Okay, so when you reflect on what drives you as a person, as a leader, that's when you begin to start developing a model. And the model is really based on who you are and what drives you as a person. The reflection piece is capturing that information and being able to understand it and how it integrates with how you behave. And when you capture that information, now you can articulate it in a way that people can understand who you are as a person and what you value in regards to a leader. So I would expect for it to be different only because you and I have different backgrounds.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
So if you were to adopt my leadership model, then it would not be authentic to you.
Yes. Right. Right. So when you captured it, have you actually written it down?
Absolutely. I have a theory that if something's really important, you document it.
Right.
Right? And you think about contracts, think about marriage, any relationship that's really important or any scenario that's important to you, you document it. So to me, leadership is critical to whatever you're involved in, your family,
Yes.
Your business, your church, and if it really drives who you are, why not write it down?
Right.
And be able to refer back to it. And over time, it may even change based on circumstances that occur in your life that reframes who you are. Life experiences always redefines you. Right? I think we call that maturity.
We hope it's maturity, right? Hey, so you have there's an authentic Michael Lewis.
I hope.
I hope, right? But you just mentioned it's about the Michael Lewis at work, at home, at church.
Yes.
Is that the same Michael Lewis in all three?
It has to be. Play acting roles. I'm not a great actor, okay? And so there will be a flaw in that model because I would be switching roles based on where I am. They call that situational leadership.
Yes.
And I understand that there's needs to be able to have an approach They may be different based on what situation you may be in, but who you are as a leader never changes.
Fundamental.
It's fundamental. It's who I am and how I engage others.
Right.
Okay, so that has to be consistent in wherever I am in my life.
Everything you do.
Yeah, 24/7,
Yes.
as they say, right.
There are times, I'm sure, when you just get, there's a crisis. There's a time when in home, church, or work, Michael Lewis, the authentic Michael Lewis, gets pushed, gets pulled, gets pinched. How do you respond when you have that moment? We're testing the core of Michael Lewis.
Yes. Well, first of all, understand that it's normal to react to that, to have an emotional response to that stimuli. Okay, it's normal. To have fear. It's normal to be nervous or have anxiety. After that first reaction, what has to kick in now is the reality that you have a responsibility to respond and act. And to do that effectively, you have to take this crisis that you're in and really, break it down to its least common denominator, which is the moment that you're in. You cannot in any way affect the moment you're going to have in the future when you're in a crisis, or you cannot look back in the past. You have to be able to master the moment that you're in and do what you can to move the organization or yourself beyond that moment. And then another moment, then you have a continuing drive, a continuing process of pushing towards a solution, rather than having to think ahead and be paralyzed by that future outcome.
Right.
Now, there's a time to plan, but I would suggest to you planning in a crisis is probably not a good thing.
Right.
You have to operate through that crisis.
Okay.
So yes, and so remaining stable and grounded is really about understanding your limitations outside the moment.
Okay.
It's a humbling effect, if you will.
So it's going to be tough at times.
It will be tough.
Will be tough. So humility, heard in your talk, stability, maybe values, a foundation. Those kind of things will drive you through that moment.
It will, if integrated properly, it will drive you through any moment. The worst crisis that you can think of, people that have survived those crises have focused on the moment. My toughest moments in my life has been based on the fact that, I have to breathe, I have to eat, I have to think to get to the next moment in my life.
Yeah.
And then when you're involved in any sort of crisis, it's really in a leadership role, it's important that you present that, because when you think in the moment, it immediately places a calmness over who you are as a person, which I think, in my opinion, is contagious to people around you. Just like if I were to panic, that's also contagious as well.
Right.
Right.
So I imagine as a leader at work, home, and church, you want to go create folks that have that same calmness, that same feeling, so they behave that way. How do you do that? How do you go take the Michael Lewis authentic manhood and say, here's how you live?
Well, you don't do it. What you do is you create an opportunity to have a conversation and network. You share ideas, because I have an approach that may work for me, but it may not work for someone else. But if I can convey an example or a situation, it may carry forth that you may use that maybe today, maybe 5 years from now. So it's not a matter of projecting yourself above others, but it's about sharing an approach that others should consider. Right. And maintaining humility is really not suggesting that your idea is the only way.
Right.
But I think collectively, as we come together, as we share our own experiences and our own approach, you develop a kind of an awareness that may lead you to adopt a concept like, focus on the moment,
yes,
or any other concept that may propel you through a crisis.
Interesting. So as you've led at work, have people come and asked you and said, Michael, tell me about your model. How come you can remain calm in the moment? And just you've modeled it. Have folks come and asked you about?
Yeah, well, when you say ask, why are we in a crisis? No, because we're all, of course, pushing through that particular situation.
Right.
If I'm in a conversation with someone, yeah, there'd be tell me, Michael, how do you, address a difficult situation?
Right.
Then that'll be the time when I share with them an approach that I have that may work. So it's not necessarily an interviewing process where I'm approached by people, Michael, how do you keep your calm? And it's a matter of thank you for providing the support. Thank you for trusting in me. Because when you project calmness, your team responds as if, okay, Michael has confidence in what we're doing. That's why he's not upset or panicked.
Right.
So it's really more of an appreciation, not how you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not an academic exercise. It's a thank you for being there as a backstop, as a supporter.
Right.
And having the confidence in me to do my job.
Right.
Because you're surrounded by great people. You're surrounded by very smart people.
Yes.
My job is to make sure they know that I know they're smart.
Yes.
And so when faced with a challenge, how can I be panicked when I got the best people on the planet working towards a solution? Right? Because I'm focused on the moment, not the possibilities of failure.
Right. And I also heard you talk about, so you're focused on the moment, but you're also focused on, what I've heard you before is talk about the mission and the team.
Right.
And as long as you keep those two in front.
Yeah, it's very important that you don't allow yourself to get before the mission or before the team.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a great way of balancing who you are and your own internal ambition versus the objectives and the needs of the people around you. And the way that I've chosen to keep that alignment is to always focus on my job and what we're here to do, the mission, and then the people that are trained, equipped, have incredible skill sets that are making that mission happen.
Right.
And if I put those two in front of my own anxieties, my own fear, my own ambition, then that combination wins most times.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Michael, thank you for helping us
you,
live up
Jim.
to our mission.
I appreciate that.
And I'm glad you're able to join us. And clearly you lived in the moment and helped me live in this moment and the nervousness of getting to hear your story. So I thank you all for joining us at the Eli Squared Leaders Up Close and Personal discussion. And we thank Duke Energy for supporting this program as well.
Thank you.